players, the downing of the tools, the same old story. Gary Neville's been speaking about it. We're going to speak about it. Where do we go from here? Why are these players giving up on another manager? And who possibly could come in and be Manchester United's next manager? Who are the genuine candidates out there as more and more people demand that a change of manager is done? And look, you know what? Is it worth changing a manager when there aren't good candidates out there that you can't get? It's a very good point. Also, from one drama to another, a lot being said this morning about a lot being said this evening about Antony's situation. I don't know whether the intro came in on YouTube there. There seems to be a bit of a delay, so just going to repeat it. Welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge. Tonight we're talking about a breakdown in communication for Eric Ten Hag with the fans and also with the players. Why are they downing tools on him, and what manager would take this job? And he's realistic as people demand that the manager is sacked. Where would you go? What is possible? We'll get into all of that. And also, I just want to bring in, look, we were told this morning from very good sources that Antony was injured on Friday. I don't make things up. Like, you have good sources and you feed it out there. There are other people out there who I respect who are saying things like this. Absolutely categorically, Antony is not injured. He was not injured on Friday. He is not injured. So, look, we can talk about that. I really wanted, what I want to do is, and it's your show, obviously this morning was a fantastic show. There was so much opinion out there. We didn't get through it all, and I really want to try and get through that tonight. And we had 18,000 people watching a Sunday morning show this morning, which is just incredible. And it just shows the passion and, you know, hunger for discussion that many Man United fans have, despite us being in an absolute shithole. I mean, if I was Ineos, I'd be looking at that and going, you know what? The power of this fan base is so big if we can harness it in the right way and generate positivity. But all the backbiting and fighting is very disappointing, of course, but, you know, most of it's morons who just want to try and score points. I've seen Romano saying today that Man United haven't held talks with Southgate, and then people going, oh, but Goldbridge said we want Southgate. Again, I can't drop down to that level. They're experts at being morons, and it's very hard for me to go down there and argue with them because they're experts. Of course, we haven't sat down and held official talks with Gareth Southgate. I mean, hopefully, if you've been watching this channel for any period of time, you understand the process of a transfer and you understand the process of sacking a manager and bringing a new manager in. I mean, bloody hell, we've done it enough. We haven't held official talks with Gareth Southgate. We haven't held talks with Southgate. Of course, Romano is going to say that because we haven't done it. Like, he's England manager. We have a manager. Of course, we haven't held talks with Southgate. Somebody would know. But the club have held talks about Southgate. Southgate is a high contender for the job. Fabrizio's been on the United Stand and said how much Ineos admire Gareth Southgate. Many credible journalists have said he's high on the list. We haven't held official talks with him. No. But don't listen to Wallies online who say things like Manchester United aren't in talks with Gareth Southgate, which means all the hyperbole is a nonsense. He is a high target. We haven't held talks with Nagelsmann. We haven't held talks with Potter. We've not held out talks with any manager. There is a list, and Southgate is very high up it. And if you don't think that, you're an idiot. And also, have you ever thought that from an Ineos point of view and a Glazer point of view, and we've got to bring them in more and more and more and more, let me just tell you a lovely scenario that will make Ineos not have to spend much money. Marcus Rashford on the left, Jadon Sancho back on the right. English, Manchester back in Manchester. Southgate in charge. He's worked with Sancho and Rashford before. Cheap, easy, English. Let's see. Anyway, look, no new chats coming in. No super chats or anything yet. But there's a lot of people getting involved. You said we talked to Southgate, says Millsy. Mate, you're the only person that has said it, Mark. Take accountability. Oh, God. Moderators, can we do the job? We actually operate at a very decent level of conversation on the United Stand. I expect we get the normal morons coming in just to try and cause trouble. Can we get rid of them? I can't interact with idiots. I literally can't. Was it not Mark Ogden, ESPN, who broke the news about Southgate? Multiple other journalists have broken it. Look, if you want me to take credit for Southgate being linked to Man United, I'll take it because I know it's true. But it definitely wasn't me that broke that story. It definitely wasn't. Are we in talks to bring Gareth Southgate to Manchester United? Yes. Have we held official talks with Gareth Southgate? No. Has Dan Ashworth had a chat with Gareth Southgate in the last 2 weeks? So I don't look. Official talks are, official talks and background talks. Look, if you don't understand the world of football, I can't help you. We're in talks with Elise. Are we in official talks with Elise? No. We're in talks with Branthwaite. Are we in official talks with Branthwaite? No. If you don't understand the football in 2024 and how it works, we had Louis van Gaal until the FA Cup final. Do you think we sacked him after the FA Cup final and then went, Jose, do you want the job? I can't believe how thick some people are. Jose Mourinho was Man United manager months before Van Gaal was sacked, and Van Gaal never had a fucking idea about it. Van Gaal won the FA Cup, and some people think we weren't in talks with Mourinho until we sacked him. Wake up and smell the coffee. Lee Cape Town, thanks for being a member. Kyle says, Southgate suits these players. You're probably right. Colin says, different perspective. What if he's playing the players to show Ineos who aren't good enough? He cannot show that if he benches them. Eric Ten Hag in. Colin, I heard what Gary Neville had to say today, and he said Ten Hag's going through a breakdown that we see numerous times at Manchester United over numerous years. It's nothing new. We get to this situation in year 2 or 3 where the manager looks completely out of his depth, the players stop playing, and you know it, and I know it. That's just the way it is. That's what happens. Why it happens, I want to talk about that. But it is happening. Do I think that Eric Ten Hag is powerful enough to pick players on purpose to show Ineos how shit they are? No. Do I think Eric Ten Hag is desperately trying to save his job? Yes. Do I think he has lost the players? Yes. Do I think he's lost the players for the same reason? No. I think, and this is what I mean, I think it says, I think the thumbnail says players down tools. You can down tools in many different ways. Subconsciously, purposely, inadvertently. There's so many ways that you can down tools. Bruno Fernandes is down tools. And people will go, what? What are you on about? Bruno never stops running. Bruno never stops running. Bruno Fernandes is down tools. He just doesn't realise it. Bruno Fernandes is down tools. His discipline has gone. That's downing tools. You can down tools by losing discipline and just being all over the place. You can down tools because you go and get yourself injured because you try too hard. Down tools is like, I'm not going to run around, I'm going to jog. Of course it is. But down tools can be losing your discipline and stop doing your job. Downing tools can be, I'm going to protect myself for a summer transfer move. There's so many ways that, and I'm not talking about Ten Hag. I want to add some context here. 2 years ago with Rangnick, most of that team down tools. Some of them did it because they didn't like Rangnick. Some of them were thinking about, not getting injured and just getting through to the summer. Some of them did it because, they knew other people were doing it and they were like, well, why should I try? There was some people just thought, I'm going to say I've got an injury just so I'm not part of this shitstorm. There was loads of people who down tools for all sorts of different reasons. When you look at Man United at the moment, I'll go through a few players for you, right? Why are people downing tools? And why are we playing so badly? Because yet again, it's like fucking deja vu. Bournemouth's first team that started yesterday, I'd say their combined wage was no more than 300k a week. And United's combined wage last against them would be touching 2 million. How does a team on 300k a week batter a team on 2 million a week? But we said the same about Brentford. It's because individual players are not playing as a team. The clue is in the word team. And we don't play as a team because there's so many different things going on. Bruno Fernandes is downing tools. Now, people will say, why are you picking on Bruno? I'm going to go through a few players for a start, but I'm going to explain something to you because everybody's downing tools in their own way. Onana's downing tools. Dalot's downing tools. All for different reasons, right? So why is Bruno downing tools? Well, Bruno's downing tools because he desperately wants to win. He desperately wants to, repay the captaincy faith that Ten Hag's given him. And he desperately wants to please you, the fans. and he desperately wants to win as an individual. But he's downing tools because he's not disciplined. He's taking the ball from the goalkeeper in our own penalty box. He's a number 10. He's at left back. He's a number 10. He's running all over the place. He's playing Hollywood balls from his own half, trying to get Rasmus or Rashford in, which are virtually less than 10% chance going to happen. If you watched Arsenal play today, I know they lost, but in the first 45 minutes, watch Odegaard. Magnetic. Ball goes into him every time. It's a progressive pass. He doesn't care about shooting, and he doesn't care about his pass being the assist. It's about getting the ball, moving the ball, having the ball back, 1 touch, 2 touch, carry the ball, pass, pass. Every thought with Odegaard is, this is what I do. I operate in this area. I'm disciplined. And when I get the ball, it's about keeping the ball and progressing up the pitch. And what I want to do is score, but not me. And I don't care whether I get the assist. I want to move us up the pitch. I want to keep hold of the ball, and I want to keep within the parameters of my role. I'm not going to run back to Raya and say, give me the ball. I'm not going to go to left back. I'm not going to go to right wing. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to be disciplined. And I'm going to be the guy that conducts this team and makes everything tick. And that's what Odegaard does. And that's what a number 10 should do. Bruno at the moment is indisciplined. He's running around a lot, and a lot of people like it, but he's indisciplined. So that's one player who is effectively downing tools, just doesn't realise it because he's not got the discipline, because he's desperately trying to be the guy that gets the team going. But in doing it, he's becoming disciplined, and that breaks the system down. Casemiro's downing tools. Casemiro is downing tools because he's probably thinking, I'm gone in the summer. There's no way they're going to keep me on 300 grand a week when my legs are gone. I'm gone in the summer. So you know what? I'm not disciplined either. I'm just sort of like, I'm not motivated. Rashford's downing tools. Maybe Rashford's downing tools because he's jogging. Maybe because he doesn't like Ten Hag. He's downing tools. Onana has down tools because Onana, when you listen to him, backs the manager, but has justified his bad season with the fact that it takes time to settle in. Mentally, he's displaying in interviews, it takes me time to settle in. He's given himself an excuse. He's not at the level he needs to be mentally. He's making excuses for himself. It's difficult to move to Manchester United. It's difficult for me to settle in. I'm settling in, I'm doing better. Mentally, it's a drop-off. And this is what we don't discuss. It's so easy to say, oh, look at Rashford jogging around. He's given up, he's downing tools. But there's different ways of downing tools. Like Onana making excuses because it's year one. Casemiro looking at the summer because he knows he's gone. Bruno trying to do too much so he's not disciplined. These are all different ways. And what about people like Rasmus or Garnacho or maybe Mainu, young players coming into the team who are like, I'm trying my arse off here. I'm not getting any service. I'm getting blamed. I'm only 18. I'm only 19. Mentally, they're probably thinking, you know what? I'm not, what I'm saying is that team is not a team. Like, there's so many different scenarios going on. Some people have got the hump. Some people know they're going in the summer. Some people are making excuses for themselves because they're a new signing. Some people are young players going, I shouldn't have all this responsibility. The senior players should be helping me out. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's got somewhere to shift. And when you ask, why is Ten Hag losing? Because there's so many people in that dressing room who've got so many stories about why it's not their fault. And ultimately, we miss leaders. And ultimately, we miss people who care about this football club and who are good enough to wear the shirt. And that is why Ten Hag's got big problems, because I know it, and you know it, that when you watch that Bournemouth game last night, you know it's going to happen again. We're not going to be able to put a team out that can produce a performance because there's just it's too fragmented. It's all over the place. Absolutely all over the place. And I don't see it's going to get any better. I mean, look, we've got 3 games that are massively stat pads. Coventry should be beaten. FA Cup final, here we go. And then we've got Sheffield United and Burnley at home, who are both shit. So there's 3 open goals there. We should be saying in a couple of weeks we've won 3 games in a row. Now, I'm not saying it. Don't clip me up. I'm not saying it. We should do it, but you know what? Even if we do it, is it a plaster over an open wound. Sheffield United and Burnley are two of the worst teams we've seen in Premier League history. And Coventry are in the Championship and they're not even in the playoffs. If we don't win those 3 games with a team that will be on £2 million a week, then you know what? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Rashford scored 4 or 5 goals in the next 3 games because the opposition's crap. I wouldn't be surprised if Rasmus got a few goals and Bruno played really, really well. These oppositions aren't that good. But does it solve our problem? Because after that, we'll be playing Arsenal at some point and we'll be playing, I think we've got to go to Palace. You know, we'll be exposed again. It's a mess. It's a mess. And look, I want to talk about where we go as a manager, but I think it's also important to talk about it's not as simple as pinning it on one player. It's not as simple as saying that player jogs, that player can't be asked. I think there are so many reasons why it's not working at the moment. I mean, what I would like to do with that team is drop in 3 or 4 leaders to get everybody back together, but we don't have that luxury and we probably never will. Let me go through some of your comments. Do you have any thoughts on Steve McLaren and his input, given he knows what it means to be a successful Man United side, says Ian? Look, it'd be very unfair of me to criticise or praise Steve McLaren. Look, when Steve McLaren was relevant was when we won the treble. He was Sir Alex Ferguson's right-hand man in '99. That's how long ago Steve McLaren was considered a top-level coach. In 2024, I don't know whether he's a top-level coach or not. I don't know. Coaching matters, Mark. Don't downplay Ten Hag's role. Gerrard was in relegation with the same players. Emery is top 4. Don't know what that means, realist. Mark, be open-minded. Southgate has done more than Ten Hag. Oh, shut up. I still don't believe we can afford to sack Ten Hag. That's 10 million from the budget. Stick with him and get an overall done. I'm going to talk about this, Antony Murray, and where we go next, because I think there is an inevitability to Ten Hag being sacked, quite simply because Ineos have done nothing to back him publicly. So I think they've hung him out to dry. Where we go next is very, very interesting. Colin says it's hard to feel sorry for Ten Hag now, playing Rashford and Bruno continually. The manager is actually letting the players off the hook. Rebecca says Fergie back and throw some boots about. Sad days. Mikey, thank you very much. Stupid question. Could Ten Hag be starting all these players so they're more sellable in the summer? More exposure equals higher return, says Z3. I think we did that one. Aria, gifted 5 memberships. You're a legend. Hi, Mark. Thought, although we're Ten Hag in, but would you trust him to sell Rashford in the summer? Wakas, look, I don't know that Rashford likes Ten Hag. I see absolutely no faith returned from Rashford. But Ten Hag absolutely does like Rashford. Like, if he didn't, he would have dropped him. Like, the way he got him back in the team after Belfast was super quick. Rashford was out on the Friday night. The following Thursday, he started against Wolves. So Ten Hag, whatever you think about the Rashford-Ten Hag situation, Ten Hag's had his back and picked him and you know, been on his side from day one. Let's not forget Liverpool are already looking for a top manager. Get rid of Ten Hag and you better get your skates on, says Zave. Wakas, thanks you. Welcome to Members Club. Lee says, evening, Mark. Good show as usual. And no, you did not say Southgate was in for the job. You only reported the news. Wake up, people. Stop the blame game. Lee, I don't care. I really don't. Look, we've been doing this for years. We've got a community. People are jealous of it. If you're not part of the community, that's fine. If you are part of the community, you know what goes on. I certainly didn't break the story about Gareth Southgate. Not at all. It was about 4 weeks after Southgate had been broken by numerous journalists that I was told that Ineos really do like Southgate and Ashworth is very close to Southgate and he is definitely high on the list if they sack Ten Hag. And I'll stand by that. If Ineos want to come out and call me and every other journalist a liar, that's fine. But that's the truth. That's what it is. Have we held official talks with him? We haven't held official talks with anybody because we've got a manager. Have we held private talks? That's how football works. Have we held private talks with players we're going to buy in the summer? That's how football works. Have we had official talks with any signing that we're going to sign this summer? No. Have Liverpool? No. Have they had talks with players? Yes. The board couldn't handle strong personalities like Mourinho and Ralph Rangnick. They need a scapegoat, so the obvious choices are Potter and Southgate, says FaZe. Hi, Mark. I can put a nightmare thought out there. City could win the treble again. Well, they are going to win the treble, Sack, and it's not a nightmare. It is going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. It's very, very obvious. We need to fire the medical staff, says Suham. And do you have any? I've done that one from Ian. Right, so look, let's talk about the manager situation. Actually, just before we do that, I don't want to brush over what the situation is reported. And around Ineos, because I think that with regards to Ineos and it's not Ineos, Antony started off with the right words. So look, Antony was not in the squad yesterday. Very, very frustrating. Thought he played really well against Chelsea, and actually looked like, you know, he was in some good form. I was massively frustrated because I was like, you know, another bloody injury. What's the point? But a lot of people saying he's not injured. Some people are saying it's because he had a fallout with Ten Hag. Look, Garnacho has unliked those tweets of mine. Good move. And there's been a lot of reaction to that. I just think this is really dangerous around Antony because the club are saying he's injured. Now, we can all believe stuff on social media. And look, I certainly get stuff that I know is true, and I ask you lot to take it on board. So, look, maybe Antony isn't injured. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he had a fallout with Erik Ten Hag. He might be ill. There might be something privately going on. It would be weird. It would be really weird for Ten Hag to stick by Antony start playing well, and then Ten Hag say, you're not being picked. It would be weird. So I don't know what the truth is around that, but I think we've got to be very careful because there will be people who really like the story because it's an opportunity to jump on the manager, but there'll also be people who don't like the story and jump on Antony. And if it's not true, it's not fair on either, is it? So I think we've got to be very, very careful about that one because the club are saying that Antony's injured. So, you know, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? I think the club are going to have to provide a bit more than that, but they are saying he's injured. I don't think they down tools simply Erik Ten Hag out of ideas as international. Well, I think you're an idiot, mate. And I think you've made a lot of idiotic comments. And look, people don't like it when I say that, but I know who international is. And anybody who watches the channel knows who it is. It's not just a throwaway, not very nice comment. And to anybody who doesn't like that, I get 100 every minute in the live chat. So it's the way we talk. It's the way we do it. If you don't like it, off you go. But International comes out with what I think are idiotic comments on the regular. I don't think the players are downing tools. It's simply Ten Hag out of ideas. But you don't understand football, mate. You don't understand football. These are not robots. They are individual players. And a manager cannot control 11 individual players and how they play. So in your idiotic brain, you think the players are 100% and could play like prime Man City, but the manager is programming them not to do it. It's a nonsense, mate. Those players are downing tools in very different ways. We're not seeing the best of Rashford and we're not seeing the best of Casemiro because Ten Hag's telling them to play shit. Have you ever heard of something called form? Form, you know, Wayne Rooney, Man United, go and score like 10 goals in 5 games, come back from an injury and be really bad for the first 5 games. Is that on the manager or is it on the individual form? Of course it's on the players, mate. You need to understand how football works. These players are not playing badly just because of the tactics. They're playing badly because individually they've checked out for whatever reason. Also, I needed to add this from this morning. You know, I don't agree with Garnacho liking tweets of mine or anybody else that are derogatory towards the manager, by the way. I don't agree with that. It should be dealt with in-house. But what I would say is, to anybody who is trying to compare Garnacho liking a tweet to Jadon Sancho, your agenda is out of control. Garnacho liking a tweet is not the same as a player consistently being late for training, writing a tweet, keeping it up for a week, refusing to apologise for months, and not playing well in a United shirt. If we are comparing liking a tweet, which has been unliked within the space of 12 hours, with writing a tweet, being late for training consistently, performing badly inconsistently, and refusing to apologise at all, then I'm sorry, you belong in the moron club as well. Like that, they are not the same. What Garnacho liking tweets is not a good thing, but it is not the same. I've seen people saying today, journalists today, saying it'll be interesting to see what Ten Hag does with Garnacho, considering Jadon Sancho got suspended. And I'm like, oh my God, do people not use their brain? So we're going to suspend Garnacho for liking a social media piece in the heat of the moment, which he is now unliked because he's calmed down, probably. We're going to suspend him because we suspended somebody who wrote a tweet, refused to delete the tweet, refused to apologise for the tweet ever. Yeah, they're exactly the same thing. Let's suspend Garnacho for the rest of the season. It's mad. There's no comparison. They are differing levels of, what's the word? They are different discipline. There has to be repercussions, but there are differing levels of suspension. And also, let's not forget, Marcus Rashford got suspended for 1 game for going out on the piss when he should have been at training. So, and you want to suspend Garnacho for a game for liking a Twitter piece, an X post. Come on, let's grow up. Is there any news of Garnacho apologising to Ten Hag, says Bram? Well, there won't be any news about that, will there? Because there's that's not, that won't be big news. I mean, Marcus Rashford, can I just say, I don't want to make this about Rashford or Sancho. Has Marcus Rashford ever publicly apologised to the fans for going out on the piss the night before training? Has he ever publicly apologised to Ten Hag or the club? Just pick your battles and stay fair. Because chasing an apology from Garnacho for liking a tweet, we still haven't had an apology for someone going out on the piss. And we still haven't had an apology from Sancho. So, you know, let's be a bit level-headed here. Come on. These are not robots. You didn't see the vocabulary then. Sancho defended himself. Double standards shining through. I think you've just been sat down, Ice Tray. Multiple players tweeting zip lips emoji. Uh-oh, says Mike B. I read somewhere that Antony questioned why Rashford was starting over him, says M. Parker. I mean, it's completely and utterly speculation. What if Ten Hag wants players to be disconnected from senior players like Rashford and Bruno so he could bench them without losing the dressing room, says Abhijit. Do you think Rashford has a contract clause that states he must play a certain number of games of minutes every season, forcing Eric Ten Hag to pick him quickly? You know what, Grant? I want to talk about the manager situation. But Grant's made a very niche comment here that I would love somebody... I've been trying for years to find out about this, and it's either one of the best kept secrets in football or journalism's crap. You know, like when you play Football Manager or FIFA and you sign somebody on a contract and there are things in there about, like, am I a regular starter, bench option, or, you know, I've got... Basically, they're not made up. They're not made up. I've spoke to a couple of ex-players who've said to me, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff that's in a contract. So, but what we never get is we never get the detail of current players, and I don't know why, but I can't sit here and honestly say that there aren't players in football that have guarantees on starting. I can't, because I can't for 1 minute think that that wouldn't be in certain contracts. But it sounds incredible, but I don't. The honest answer is I don't know, Grants, but you know, there probably are contracts out there for good players where they are very, very favourable. Mark, you're absolutely spot on. Buy 9 Bournemouth players and save 1.2 million a week and we'll still finish 7th, says Andy Bell. Do you think there'll be hope for Ten Hag if he wins the FA Cup? We're going to talk about the manager situation now, Isha. Hi, Mark. Maybe when Ten Hag knew he was going to go when one came in, and because a lot of things he's doing similarly, like he's throwing in the towel too, says Shahir. I apologise for the Schumacher joke. I was in bad taste and I apologise. I wasn't trying to bait you, says Elijah. Thank you very much for the apology, mate. It's fine. Mikey says, Ollie said it was told he had to play Maguire because he cost 80 million. No, he didn't. I think the same now for Ten Hag. I don't remember Ole Gunnar Solskjaer ever saying that, mate. I think that we would know about that, Mikey. We would know about that. Let's talk about the manager situation. So, look, I think when it comes to Rashford or Casemiro or Bruno, it's got to go on the manager. He picks the team. If he's signed a contract at a club where he hasn't got the power to drop players, he's an idiot. And I don't think he's an idiot. So I think Ten Hag is picking the senior players. You know what? My theory on Ten Hag picking Bruno or Casemiro or Rashford is, and it's really basic and it's really scary, I think he picks them and keeps them on because he knows in the past they've scored goals or they've done something. I think he keeps them on for a moment. I think he will put up with Rashford doing nothing for 85 minutes in the hope that in the 86th minute he'll score a banger. I think that's why he does it. I think he's keeping them on because they have a CV. And I think when it comes to Ahmad, he doesn't have a CV. And when it comes to Rasmus or Garnacho or Mainu, they don't have a CV. So I think when he wants to make a substitution, he doesn't want to take Rashford or Bruno off. You know, like yesterday when he wanted to bring Mount on, he took Mainu off. Kept Casemiro on, kept Rashford on, kept Bruno on, and took Mainu off. And I think he's doing it because he knows he's got to get Mount on, but Mainu's 18. The stupid thing is, we've got 3 points instead of 1 because of Mainu against Wolves. But I think that's why he does it. I think he does. Been watching since I was 6. I'm 16. Love the show, says Mike. Yeah. So look, I think with regards to the manager, a lot of people are saying, is there any chance he's going to stay? And look, can I just say, a lot of people think I'm Ten Hag out. I'm not Ten Hag out. If I was Ten Hag out, I would say it. I said it when I was Ollie out. I said it was Jose out. I'm not Ten Hag out. I'm fed up with Ten Hag. Yesterday, and you know, it's not the first time. A lot of people have messaged me today and said, you're Ten Hag out, you just don't dare say it. I mean, I don't dare say Ten Hag out, but I dare call out people I like, players I like Rashford, Bruno, you know, Martial, Casemiro. I'll call out players I like, but I'm in a bad way. You know, I'll say they need to be sold. I'll say they're shit, but I won't call out a manager. I will. I definitely will. And when it's time to say Ten Hag out, I'll say it. I think he is going to get the sack. That's different. That's different to being Ten Hag out. I think he's gone. I'm 90% sure he's gone. I wouldn't do it, but I think he is gone. But he massively frustrates me. But it's not the first time. I remember against Forest, we were drawing at half time. He took Mainu off and brought McTominay on and we lost. And I said straight after that game, what the fuck's he doing? He's sacking himself. So, no, he's massively frustrating. But he's going to sack himself. I don't need to say it. You know, if you want to say Ten Hag out, do it. I don't need to say it. He'll sack himself. And he's going to sack himself. And when he's sat wherever he's sat in the summer, you know, feeling sorry for himself, he needs to remember that he sacked himself because he didn't do what anybody would have done and dropped certain players and given other players a chance. I, for 1 minute, cannot believe that Amrabat's worse than Casemiro at the moment. I can't for 1 minute think that Casemiro is doing a better job than what Amrabat would do. I mean, I'm not saying Amrabat does need to go back to Fiorentina, but he'd do a better job than Casemiro. I mean, Casemiro is so indisciplined and so slow. It's incredible. So look, yeah, Ten Hag's picking the team. He can't feel sorry for himself if he gets sacked. But I think with... Look, the reason I'm not Ten Hag out, by the way, I feel I have to explain this every time. The reason I'm not Ten Hag out is the reason I'm not Ten Hag out is because I firmly believe we're making a mistake by sacking another manager. And it wouldn't matter to me whether Ollie was here or Ranić or Mourinho. I'd still say the same thing. We're doing what we've done for the last 10 years. We're blaming the manager for everything and we're letting the players off the hook. And also, there's a third thing there. We're also making ourselves unaccountable as owners when we're to blame more than anybody. So using the manager as a sacrificial lamb is wrong. It's wrong. And that's why I'm not Ten Hag out, because I think it's just so obvious to me that this is not the manager's fault. He might not be the right manager, accept that, but it's not his fault. Like, it clearly isn't. We've done this 4 times now. At some point, you've got to say, it's not the manager, it's the players. It's the structure above the manager. So that's why I'm not Ten Hag out. But I think he's gone. I definitely think he's gone. I think the similarity between Ranić 2 years ago, Ollie a few months before that, Mourinho's last few games, it's deja vu. It's deja vu. You know, it's just so similar. And the scary thing is, some of the same players that did it to Mourinho and Ollie and Ranić are doing it again. And I'm like watching them going, I remember you doing this against Ollie, for Ollie. I remember you doing exactly the same thing for Ollie and Ranić. Like, they're doing exactly the same thing. And it's That, to me, for Ineos, is the message. If Sir Jim Radcliffe's a lifelong Man United fan, he has to be looking at it like us and going, hold on a minute. I saw him doing that for Ollie. I saw him doing it for Rangnick. And he's now doing it for Ten Hag. This is my football club, and I've got a guy who's done this 3 times. Why the fuck is he still here? What do you mean we should give him another chance? Like, he's done it 3 times. Should be 1 strike and you're out at United. We've got players who've done it 2 or 3 times. It's not right. Player Power FC wins again, says Carlos. Well, I think it will win. Of course I do. I think it will win. So where are we going to go from here? David Ross says, Eric Ten Hag in, Rashi and Co out, or are we stuck in the same cycle? You know what, David? I have to be fair. It's not black and white. It's not red and green. There's everything in between. And people who say Ten Hag in, Rashi and Co out, Ten Hag won't sell Rashford. So, you know, this is what I mean. Life is not simple. It's intertwined. Keeping Ten Hag, you will keep Rashford. Sacking Ten Hag, you will keep Rashford. So they're not connected. They're not connected. That's not going to happen. Ten Hag has had Rashford's back the last 2 years. So Ten Hag won't sell Rashford. I don't see that happening. But I don't see a new manager coming in and doing it either. We have to get on board with the fact that Rashford will be here next year, which is why I and many others are on his back. I don't understand the morons on Twitter who have Rashford's back and let him off, because the reason I'm on Rashford's back is because I know he's going to be here next year. So what I'm trying to do is somehow make him listen, and it's, you know, he's not going to listen to fans, is he? Is make him have a kick up the arse and start playing well, because I know he's going to be here next year and I can't put up with another year of that. Nobody can. He can't. So I'm hoping he's going to listen to the criticism and at some point kick into gear, because he's definitely going to be here. He has to start Mount next game because he wasted 55 million. Ten Hag has bought many, but he doesn't know what to do with Mount, Sacred Slipper. It's very obvious he doesn't know what to do with Mason Mount. I don't know what the original plan is, but it's very obvious he doesn't know what to do with him. There was no reason for Mount to not start last night. He's fit, so he doesn't know what to do with him. We have to break the mould with Ten Hag. He has to get 1 more season, says Billy. Does Eric not realise Mount, Amrabat, Mainu, Ahmad, Nacho are quick pass, quick movement type players that would suit his build-up play, says Liam. Thank you very much. So look, let's talk about the manager situation for this section of the show. You can throw some names at me. You can throw some scenarios. I'm more than happy to answer with what I know. But I am going to go through the likely candidates of what happens when Ten Hag gets sacked. So the first question a lot of people are asking is, if he wins the FA Cup, do you think he'll keep his job? Because even Gary Neville said today, if he wins the FA Cup, you can't ignore the fact that he's won 2 trophies in his first 2 years. And I agree with Gary Neville. You shouldn't ignore the fact that he's won 2 trophies in 2 years, because over the last 10 years, I mean, on what planet would Manchester United sack a manager that's won 2 trophies in his first 2 years? Nobody's done that. Sir Alex Ferguson didn't do it, and nobody's done that in the last 10 years either. So, you know, logically, if he wins the FA Cup, he shouldn't lose his job. But I think he will. I think the decision's already been made. But, I mean, I suppose decisions can be changed, but I don't see him keeping his job, because I think it's just so visibly obvious. Look, if I'm looking at it, the problem you've got is, if I'm looking at this from Ineos's point of view, and I'm watching these games, it's very obvious that the players have given up on him. And therefore, you're looking at it and you're going, well, most of these players are going to be here next year. So how does he win them back when they've given up on him? And that's the biggest problem he's got, which is what we're talking about here. Big problems for Ten Hag, players down tools. It's not about whether he can scrap an FA Cup. It's about the obvious situation that the players have given up on him and we're not going to sell them all. So as an owner, you'd look at that and go, well, if he's lost so many players and we're keeping a lot of those players, what else can we do? It's quite concerning surrounding Ten Hag, says Lee. As well as in June, he will be in the final year of his contract. A manager cannot go into that situation. Good point. What about bringing Jose Mourinho in, says Andres? football will be shit, mate. And I know people say the football's shit now, but the football will be shit. You know, it's really interesting you say this, because I watched Newcastle yesterday against Spurs win 4-0 with 30% possession. And the week before, they won 1-0 at Fulham at Craven Cottage with 30% possession. So Newcastle have taken 6 points in their last 2 games with 30% possession. So Eddie Howe has basically said, we're going to be compact, we're going to defend, and we're going to counter quick. And he's took 6 points. Ten Hag could have done that. These players love it. I hate it. It's crap football. Ten Hag could have done that. I don't like that football. And I'm not going to say he should have done it, but he could have done it. And Eddie Howe's done it. And everyone's right up Eddie Howe's arse. But he's basically just played counter-attacking football for 2 games because he's got injury problems. So, you know, you talk about Jose Mourinho, we probably would get some results. It wouldn't be good to watch and it wouldn't be progressive. If you want to go back to what we did under Ollie and Mourinho, just to grind out results, that's fine, but there's no future in it. Like, that's my problem with bringing a Mourinho in or any other defensive coach, is it's just a stopgap. It's not the future. And it's completely contradictory to every message we've had from Ineos about best in class and playing a brand of football that they dictate. So I can't see it being Mourinho. I can't see it being a defensive coach because it's contradictory to the plan a Barada or Sir Jim will have. I'm surprised. Well, look, Ten Hag could have done it to try and grind results out. But, yeah, it's interesting. The manager's names floated as Ten Hag replacement are concerning, says Jeff. Yeah, so look, if he wins the FA Cup, I still think he'll get the sack, which is incredible. Marvin, great point. I want to talk about the managers, but we've got a little bit of time. Marvin says, have you seen what Delo said? I did. So Delo, who has been massively championed by Ten Hag, massively trusted by Ten Hag, has sort of down tools in a way. He said, we're too open. The tactics, basically, he said we're too open. The tactic, and look, I'm not saying he's wrong, but that's publicly. We're too open. The tactics aren't good. So look, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Where do we go after Ten Hag? Because I think that's where we're going. And yeah, I mean, look, this is where it gets concerning, people, because where do we go after Ten Hag? Well, look, don't discount Southgate. It's very, very likely that's what they'll do. Don't discount Potter. He's free. Nagelsmann is probably the best option, but it's very similar to what we did 2 years ago with Ten Hag. I mean, you're out the frying pan and into the fire. This is a guy that plays a certain brand of football who is very, very, fixated on that and, also wants power. So I don't know how Nagelsmann would work. And I don't know whether he'd want the Man United job looking at our squad makeup. So Nagelsmann's very difficult to do. Hansi Flick is a name many people mention, and he's certainly available, but he's never been on United's radar. De Zerbi at Brighton. I mean, what did Brighton do this weekend? I don't even know. Did they win? Did they draw? I don't know. What did Brighton do this weekend? I've got no idea. I completely missed their result this weekend. What are we at? It's the Brighton. Drew with Burnley, 1-1. I mean, he's not having a very good season, is he? And he's going to cost 15 million to get out of his contract. So De Zerbi looks like an expensive mistake. Southgate's a mistake. Potter's a mistake. Nagelsmann's probably not gettable. Amarim's going to Sporting. Alonso's staying at Leverkusen. We've never been in for Hansi Flick. Zidane doesn't want a job in England. I mean, where do you go? Nick says, what about Kieran McKenna? I mean, the trouble with Kieran McKenna is he's massively inexperienced and anything goes wrong and people will just double down on that. I wouldn't go anywhere near him at the moment. I think it's too soon. You think he's going to manage in the Premier League before you give him a Man United job? Yeah, it's a massive step up to go from Ipswich to Manchester United. I mean, look, I'm not discounting it, but what I'm saying is, if you're going to sack Ten Hag, you've got to have you've got to go best in class. I mean, for me, if you're sacking Ten Hag, you should be going for someone like Emery, Ancelotti. You know, you should be bringing somebody in that inspires and excites. You sack Ten Hag, we're bringing somebody in that depresses or concerns. Like, there isn't anybody out there, and this is the big problem. There's nobody out there at the moment, and this has actually been the feedback from the inner circles of United as well. There are, I don't know who from, but there are concerns from people in the club who are involved in this, saying it's one thing sacking Ten Hag, but the manager market's really concerning. There's not, you know, when Van Gaal won the FA Cup, you've got one of the greatest managers that ever lived begging for the job in Jose Mourinho. It was a natural thing to do. What do we got? And realistically, I don't see an option there where I go, yeah, I'm even partially confident that it's the right thing to do. I'm Ten Hag in, but he always breaks unwanted records, says Ricardo. Jonah says, if I were Ten Hag, I'd just let the players playing for him. If it doesn't work, he was gone anyway, and it works. You can't sack someone on a winning run, says Jonah. And Moses says, if these new owners really believe that the players have given up on the manager, they will give them another chance because they will think they will work out with someone else. Yeah, I think you're probably right on that. I mean, look, good question. Some people said Gary O'Neill. Some people are saying Klopp. Horrible thing is that Southgate fits their vision, says Keel. Yeah, but you know what? Apparently I leaked it about Southgate, and apparently I've made it up about Southgate. Well, you know, when we get Southgate, I will never stop saying I told you so. There's a name that Terps just mentioned here, which is better than Southgate, but terrifies me as well. Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel absolutely terrifies me. I think he is better than Southgate, and I think he's better than Potter, but I think he's an absolute chancer. He's another ex-Chelsea sacked manager. I mean, are we not going to learn anything new? Are we just going to go for the fashionable names in Europe that are like... we can't be the victim again. We've got to be the destroyer. We can't go and pick up the manager that everyone else has tried and be on that cycle. I mean, we did it with Mourinho. Chelsea sacked him and we thought he's still a good manager. Tuchel, sacked by PSG, sacked by Chelsea, sacked by Bayern. I think there's a recurring theme there that he might not be all that. I don't want to go anywhere near Tuchel. And also, do your homework on Tuchel. His recruitment is crap. Absolute crap. They're going to... Bayern Munich have won, 11 of the last 12 Bundesligas? And then losing this Bundesliga by 15 points? Won't go anywhere near Tuchel. Wouldn't go anywhere near him. But you've got to consider it because he's free. Nobody's speaking about Hansi Flick. He's free as well, says Thomas. A lot of you are talking about Hansi Flick, but Man United aren't. That's the problem. Will Ten Hag get sacked now and Rooney come in as caretaker manager, says Samir? I doubt it. When Zidane takes over, do you think Varane and Casemiro stay, says Robin? Zidane's not taking over. Zidane would rather manage Aston Villa than Man United because at least they've got a team that he can go in and work with. Zidane is not a project manager. Zidane is not a manager that builds teams from the ashes. And also, he hasn't learnt English and he doesn't want the job either. So, yeah, I'd forget about that. I really, really will. I really, really would. Westhold, look at Jardin from Club America. He's great, says Fernando. So, look, I do think that Ten Hag's going to lose his job. But who's going to take his job? I'd like to see that... I'd like to see something going on around that. I really would, but I don't. I really don't. I'd like to see some. If I woke up tomorrow morning and Ten Hag had been sacked and we were interviewing Nagelsmann, at least, as much as I disagree with it, we'd be trying to get a decent manager in. But on the other hand, if I woke up tomorrow morning and they're giving Ten Hag a 3-year contract, I'd applaud that as well. I'd like to see some leadership. Because at least if they gave Ten Hag a new contract, you'd go, well, they're sticking with the project. I think we've started having bad results because players are, trust me, Hansi Flick won a treble, says Plug. Look, you can talk to me about Hansi Flick all you like. I'm not the director of football. We're not talking to Hansi Flick. So until that changes, it's just fan theory. We're not interested in Hansi Flick at the moment. The three names that I would say are the biggest interest are Potter, Southgate, and De Zerbi. Nobody else at the moment. What about Xavi, says Robert? We're not going to go for Xavi. You've got to be realistic. You can't just throw names out in the hope that Man United go after them. You've got to follow like what we're actually doing, and we're not looking at those people at the moment. And I don't know why. Ineos have been stereotypically linked to being very British. Maybe that's what they want to do. I don't know, but I don't think the indecisiveness has helped us. Football players are very tunnel visioned. They have a lot of people around them telling them how great they are. They earn very, very good money, and it's about what they're doing. Yes, it's a team game, but especially at Man United, team ethic's not really been a thing for a long time. It's more about what's going on for the individual. And when a player has an excuse and they're working in that environment, then they'll take that excuse. And I think Ineos have generated an excuse environment by the fact that they've allowed this season to drift towards the summer. And I can't believe we've done it, because it's so similar to Rangnick 2 years ago. And that season just drifted into oblivion. And we've allowed it to happen again. We needed some strong leadership in the last 2 months of the season. Some kick up the arse conversation. And I really do feel that, yeah, Ten Hag is at fault and the players are at fault. But I think the ownership are at fault because they've just let the season drift without any ownership. It's sort of like the whole atmosphere around United is the season's over. The manager's going to get the sack. We're going to lose more games. And do you think the players aren't listening to that and psychologically being affected by it? Like the club has just been allowed to drift. Oh, the injuries are an excuse. It has just drifted into this oblivion. I'd just force a top assistant to Ten Hag instead of sacking him. He has 2 assistants and keep agreeing with him and no one challenges his ideas, says Shahin. Only positive I see from Ten Hag is the development of youth players. How many players could do that? Also, what's the update on Greenwood, says Sacred? Well, look, I think the likes of Sancho, Greenwood and everybody else, you would have to take with a pinch of salt. Because certainly in the case of Sancho, if we get a new manager, I think he'll want to come back. So, you know, I don't want Sancho back. I think the way that he behaved was not on Ten Hag. It was on him as an individual. He refused to apologise. And it wasn't just an apology to the manager. It was an apology to the fans. But I can see Sancho back next season. Maybe Greenwood comes back as well. I don't know. How about Phil Parkinson, says Ben. Okay. Although it's not exciting, I think Southgate would win the league with Man United, says JV. I think you know nothing about football and should go and take up snooker or something like that. If I were Ten Hag, I've done that one from Jonah as well. Okay, Mark, what do you want Ineos to do at the moment, says Victor. If I was Ineos at the moment, I'd make a fucking decision. I just think you either stick with this manager or you don't. I don't think drifting the season helps. Look, watching United the last few games, it's a fucking joke. I don't think it's going to get any better. You either get rid of the manager now and start interviewing the best candidate you can and use an interim until the end of the season, or you give the manager a new contract and send a strong message to the players they need to buckle down. The big problem we have at the moment is we're stuck in between. Is he getting sacked or is he staying? And in that in-between, there's no accountability. And you can see it on the pitch. Nobody is genuinely motivated as a team. If they give him a new contract, those players will shit themselves and go, fucking hell, he's staying. I better start working. If they get rid of him and an interim comes in and a new manager's coming in, they'll all go, fucking hell, he's been sacked. I've got to show what I'm all about. This is what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I would do. We're drifting on uncertainty. And what we know about Man United over the last 10 years is when there's uncertainty, the results go through the floor. For whoever's in the team, whoever the dressing room is, it's a weak-minded dressing room, and it definitely results reflect the weak-mindedness. If I was in charge, I'd either get rid of Ten Hag tomorrow or I'd give him a new contract tomorrow. Because either way, the players have got to respond and get on with it. Because the players can't drift when there's certainty. They've got to go, shit, Ten Hag's staying. I better work for a move or work to stay. Or Ten Hag's going, shit, I better work to stay or work to get a move. Whereas at the moment, it's like, you know, there's no accountability. And there's certainly no leadership in the dressing room, so it will just keep drifting. We United fans never learn. I can't believe people want the manager gone after what happened in the last 10 years, says Mehdi. Ankit says, sell players. No team in Europe will touch Casemiro, Varane, Shaw. We need to cash out on Bruno and Eriksen and Scott McTominay and Rashford, plus whoever is sent on loan. Well, Casemiro and Varane can go to Saudi. They'll 100% go near them. And Casemiro in the Saudi league will look like prime Casemiro. So, yeah, we will. But look, you know, we're 2 years on from Ranić and we're still talking about open heart surgery. And we got rid of the guy who wanted to do that. So we've wasted 2 years, really. Anyway, what a show tonight. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Absolute legends. Really enjoyed it. Interesting conversation. Obviously, it's going to continue. And look, once somebody said, do you think we're going to see Ten Hag sacked in the next few days? No. No, I do not think that's going to happen. I don't think it'll happen at all. I think they're going to... I think we've got another 6 weeks of what we've had for the last 6 weeks where it just drifts. But hopefully, with 3 very winnable games, we can win 3 games in a row. It's on Ineos. They did nothing. No leadership, says Florian. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.